Hello, you're listening to another special episode of the S@in Unnamed podcast. Today's episode, we will be chatting with the finalists from the Australian, New Zealand, or the Oceanic Continental Championships. And yeah, you're not here to listen to me ramble, so here are our special guests. Hey everyone, welcome to the chat.
Hello.
So we have with us here, if you're watching this on YouTube, in order left to right and then top down, we have Keith, E, Simon, and Steve. So first off, congratulations to everyone for making the final tables of the 2023 Australian New Zealand Continental Championship. Unfortunately, Matthew can't join us today. But yeah, congratulations everyone on a tournament well played. And once again, big congratulations to Keith for taking home the trophy and getting your name engraved on it.
Finally.
Let's just do a quick round around the table. A short introduction of yourself and a quick description of what deck you were playing in the event. So let's start with Keith.
Hi, I'm Keith. I was playing a Ministry Group 6 deck. Basically, it was a mishmash of 2 starters and 2 new bloods.
What about yours, Keith?
I was playing Inko the Black Lion Guhuri deck. It's a bloat Bruce League deck that uses Nana Baruku. And founders of, and it just abuses founders of the Ebony Kingdom. This will be my second, maybe third attempt at attempting to get it into the Australian Championship, TWD. So I might archive it for another year. Get back in maybe a couple of years' time. Do attempt number 4.
4 times the charm. That's what they say, right?
Yep.
Simon.
Yeah, I'm Simon. I was running a Sothemia and Armada bleed with a splash of vote, trying to bloat, trying to get out Lutz or Indeli, depending on the situation, and basically abuse Inkelcog and the discard specials of the two vampires.
Last but not least, Steve. Tell us about yourself and the deck that you brought.
Hey, I'm Steven. I was playing a Group 4-5 Giovanni deck. It was a bit of a sort of toolboxy bleed deck, mostly bleeds with Dominate, some stealth and block fails from Necromancy and Bonding, and also has a bit of like combat and intercept and stuff mixed in there.
So I'm just going to throw this out to table in general, and feel free to pick up the question. So what are your thoughts now that the event is over on the sitting on the final table, and also like why did you pick exactly where you ended up sitting? Start with Key, I guess.
So I figured I wanted Stephen behind me because I assumed he was probably quite squishy, and I thought that that Simon would sit as far away from me as possible, which he did, because again, Potent's combat. Nobody wants to basically feel that, and that's why I sat where I sat. I figured having +1 stealth, Giovanni block fails lead behind me was better than Ministry.
Fair enough. Stephen, were you 5th seat going into the final table, or were you 4th?
I'm not sure. I know I didn't get pick on where I was sitting though. I was one of the first 2 placed. I can't remember which order though.
Yeah, it's the the illusion of choice for being fourth seed going to a final table. Here, you get to pick whether you want to, I don't know, sit exactly here or exactly here, maybe 2 inches to the left or the right. So, Simon, why did you pick where you end up sitting?
I mean, pretty much 2 reasons. One, high risk strategy of sitting in front of key looked high risk. I was also assuming that Stephen was a bit squishy, and so I didn't want his minions to get binned and then mine. I have some mental mazes and a secure haven, so I could have dealt with a little bit of what Key was doing, but not enough. And then the other really was last time we were in Brisbane, I ended up sitting next to Matt and we were playing similar crypts, and that was a bit shit for the whole table, to be fair. So I thought actually sitting between the two of them would mean that those 2 players would also have an opportunity to go forward, and that felt quite good for the table for everyone to be moving forward. So I didn't really want to get preyed on by Keith particularly, although that could have been okay sitting the other side of Stephen, but I was also a bit worried that Stephen, as happened on the table, that before Key had a minion, someone had bled him for 5. Could have allowed Stephen to get a pretty quick oust. So, in the end, just between the 2 ministry decks, 6. So sorry, Key. Might have been 6 years. Anyway, I was a bit worried that Stephen might just be too quick for me. I am a relatively slow to get moving deck. I didn't want sort of Stephen just going bang, bang and getting away on me. So, in the end, between the 2 ministry decks seemed the most interesting, as well as, the best for the table choice.
That's an interesting point that you brought up. You kind of, like, even though the final table is like 2.5 hours, you kind of also want the...
No, it's only 2 hours. No, just 2.
I was 2.5 hours. Okay. But regardless, you kind of want the table to keep moving. Because on the final table, it's no longer about collecting PPs after having game wins. It's really about who comes out first. So if the game goes to time, it's typically not ideal for anyone that doesn't come in on first seed. Speaking of which, I think, I don't remember if it's Key or Keith that came in first seed, but...
No, it was me.
Oh, it was you. There you go.
Yeah.
Simon came in first. I was second.
Yeah.
So, Keith, why did you pick where you ended up sitting?
Well, I figured that being prey to another ministry deck and having seen what he put into his deck, I was quite confident that because I put in more party out of bounds to either lower the amount of bleed that he could do, or I could block him, or bounce the bleed. So I was quite confident in actually sitting as his prey. So I could just forward all that bleed to whoever was unfortunate enough to sit in front of me.
Did the consideration for contesting ever came up? Because I think you both ran almost exactly the same crypt.
Yes, but when it came to it, we drew different vamps altogether, so we didn't end up contesting at all.
Fair enough. That was a bit of luck, I would say. And one of the things that we sort of changed up, or rather Steve Harris sort of changed up this year, was with the seeding of the final table, we used to basically just have some, like one card or something, indicate who it was, and then just make decisions around that. And I think this year he followed the European format. Was there a short description given by each player for what the deck does, or was it just the 3 vampires that were showing up?
It was a short description as well as the 3 vampires.
Yeah.
I guess we've kind of always done that up to a point in Australia on previous finals. Most of us have had a couple of sentences. And I'd actually played with Matt, Stephen, and had seen Key's deck previously, so it was only Keith's deck that I hadn't seen. Don't know who else had seen what.
What you're saying is the whole introduction of blurb and the 3 vampires didn't really change how you would have ended up picking your seedings, or did anyone did anyone go, oh, okay, I'd rather not sit behind or in front of this person because of the descriptions given?
I don't think it changed anything for me. I suppose the other thing was in a tournament our size, we've only got 30 players, so there's a reasonable chance that you've actually met people previously on other tables. If you're at a European event with, did I say 200 and something ridiculous?
Yeah, 270.
Amazing, but I assume that to make it onto the table at all, you have to have probably at least 2 or 3 game wins. So the chance of you actually seeing one of the finalists would be pretty small.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. We tend to have, I guess the Aussie and New Zealand community is fairly close-knit, for lack of a better phrase, and we're happy to just tell each other, like, if you get asked, we're happy to tell each other, like, yeah, this is the deck I brought. There might be some tricks in there, but we're not like, no, this is a secret. You can't pry this from my cold dead hands.
Yeah, I think we've always been fairly open with, who's playing what.
Generally, talk like that gets you a table hit and gets you ousted real quick.
Yeah, I think Keith's right.
I may or may not be speaking from some sort of experience.
So, any highlights from the final table? There was a bit of, and I think this has been 2 years running now. We've got some sort of scandal at the table. We had Handshake Gate last year, and this year we apparently have Oathbreaker. But that was,
I know what the sound of a breaking oath sounds
like. What the sound of a breaking oath sounds like now. We all do.
Very clearly.
So aside from that, we might come back to that in a bit, but aside from that, what were the highlights of your final, like the experience on the final table for you? And maybe we can start with Stephen for this one.
Well, I guess I was in the game for the least amount of time. Honestly, not sure.
Yeah, that's all right. What about if you had an opportunity to do something differently, all the way from seeding to the end of the game? How was there anything that you would have done differently?
I probably would have shuffled my deck for slightly longer to get different cards. Honestly, I think the biggest problems for me in that game would have been seating position, which I didn't have any control over, and the cards I was drawing. I just wasn't getting the right cards at the right time, I think, to make the most out of the position I had there.
It was quite a good start, managing to lead key for 6 very early. That was
opened well, just didn't manage to keep it up.
Yeah.
Yes, I remember Key going backwards and well, I wouldn't say hard, but he went backwards a couple of times against Steve.
That was hard.
It was hard.
I had to. I got bled.
I think he spent most of the game going backwards.
Yeah.
Even after I got ousted.
Yeah, and I think I kind of lost track of both time and just being hit so hard and then having so much pressure behind me. It caused me to lose track of time, and also there was one turn when I needed to switch my focus forward and go, and I missed that turn. In terms of highlights, I think the Archon investigation on one of Stephen's empires, it always feels pretty good.
Maybe not for Stephen.
It happens. When your deck leads that high, you expect that sort of thing can happen.
In terms of changing things, my first discard was a Cat's Guidance, and he was playing like +1 stealth. So, yeah, holding on to that Cat's Guidance might have saved me 4-4. So,
what about you? Any particular highlights? I mean, winning is a highlight, I would assume.
Yeah, I mean, winning. It was. I mean, I think if there was anything I could have done differently was perhaps be Key's prey, because Key didn't go forward at all. So I would have been overjoyed just going forward for free, no pressure, you know. But I think the game started to turn better for me once I drew my Garibaldi Museum. That allowed me to keep pressure up, even though my cards were not coming back to my hand. Like most of my deck is bleed. So, and when no Platinum Protocols showed up, I started looking for Platinum Protocols. When no Bait and Switch came up, I was like, oh well, I better get a Bait and Switch now. So I show everybody I've got one in my hand, and kept Simon from doing something heavy and heinous to me, so I could flick over.
Fair enough. And speaking of which, yeah, I remember, Simon, there was a reasonable amount of deal making between you and Key to not accidentally oust Key while you're trying to go get your first VP. Aside from that, what are the highlights of your game and anything you've done differently if you had a chance?
Wasn't really too much I could have done differently. I mean, yeah, I could have negotiated with Key. I suspected he might have a DI when I played the Ancilla Empowerment that would have ousted Key, without Keith, sorry. I suspect that he probably had one, and we could have maybe had a talk about it, but I couldn't really think of a convincing argument that would have let him play it. And possibly Keith should have remembered that he had played it, because I think he could have bled for more than 3 a bit earlier. But no, apart from that, I mean, if that doesn't get DI'd, I get an oust, and if I get an oust, I win. The only thing that really stuffed me from a game perspective was I didn't get any acceleration. So no dreams, no Zillas. So I got 20 vampire or 20 pool worth of vampires out the hard way, with only transfers, which was a little bit, just slowed me up a little bit. But I was also a little bit aware that I got to be careful with when I bleed, to make sure that I am not tapping Key out and allowing the lunge. So I was very cautious to just bleed carefully and not too much. Have a spy mission. I think I played 1 spy mission, and yeah, just try to manage that. So yeah, I thought I played it pretty well. I was pretty happy with how it went. Just needed another minute or Key not to have a DI. So close.
I mean, you can't really play your game around maybe someone has a DI. You just have to go for it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
So, Key, considering that the Ancilla Empowerment would have taken Keith off your back, what was the sort of push factor for you to play the DI on the Ancilla Empowerment, apart from, I know you were low on pull at that point and being hit for like 2 or 3 more?
Yeah, I actually throughout the whole game, I misjudged the seeding. So I was playing the game, and I was playing the game, and I basically misjudged the seeding side of things, and I think I was just running on Steam. So I did have enough in my hand for one lunge, which I even the lunge I messed up. I pentaxed the wrong minion and just not operating on all cylinders. So I think that alone led to a lot of stupid decisions. So, and I had a great day, and last year I ran like a perfect final. So it's only fair if you had just sometimes you just have off games where you just running on automatic, running on fumes, and that that was basically that game for me. I mean, even when I played the DI, I was like, yeah, that opens me up for being bled for 4, because I can't play the Archon I've got in my hand anymore. So yeah, there was just a lot of automatic motion going on in the last 45 minutes of that game, of kind of just running off instinct, really, as opposed to thinking things through clearly and having a good grasp on the state of things.
So circling back to Oathbreaker.
Oathbreaker. Yes, you're free. Well, you did make a deal. I'm probably gonna break it.
I think Key has. I've been on the table with Key in I think it was 2 years ago or something like that, where I had to. I think I ended up kind of sort of breaking a deal to get a game win, and something he said that really stuck with me was that keeping deals is all nice, and like you generally want to not be the guy that breaks every single deal, but if it's like for a game win, I think it's generally reasonable.
Oh yeah, definitely. And when we're talking like a Continental Championships, I mean, in fairness, there was a deal that I shouldn't have really taken, and I kind of took just to run through the deal. It was an absolute stupid deal. The deal was I'll only bleed you for 3 if you don't back rush me. I was like, yep, 3 a turn, that's fine. That's cool. And then the next action is that was taken was him rescuing one of his vampires and going up to 3 vampires behind me while I was on 6 pull. And I just didn't expect him to rescue one of his vampires, because it puts me in a position where I have to back rush you. So it was, again, just me not really thinking, me not taking a wider view, and just kind of running on automatic. But yeah, the moment he rescued one of his vampires and went up to 3 minions, they could all bleed for 3 to 4, and I was on 6 pull. Then final, I had no choice but to crush him, because if I was in that position, I would take the game win. It's a Continental Championship. I would break the deal and take the game win. I think I'd suggest that if you've got a chance to win a Continental Championship, most people would be fairly tempted to break that deal. So
wasn't it only a 1-turn deal? It was a 1-turn deal.
1 turn.
It was just an absolute pointless retard.
I don't think you had any choice. I mean, it's risky making those 1-turn, don't rush backwards, don't bleed deals if you're the forward player, because it goes, yeah. So let's say even if he doesn't rescue, he's still got 2 minions that can bleed for 3, and you've got 6 pull. So you
I would have been fine with 2 minions.
You can take.
Yeah, with 2 minions, I would have been fine. I would have, if he had stayed on 2 minions, I would have had a turn going forward, and I could cope fine with 2 minions. But the moment he hit 3 minions again, I was like, nah, this is just not sustainable. And if I was thinking clearer, I would have, and sort of had my head on, I would have said, sure, but don't rescue a minion this turn. I think.
I mean, just from my perspective, watching what happened, I felt like, taking a turn to build up and get that minion back out and everything was kind of like Keith's best reason for taking the deal. So, I think missing that was kind of the issue there, and not realizing that's what he was probably going to do.
Yeah, it's interesting when you're fully involved in the deal itself, and when you're actually piloting the deck still, you've got all these considerations. Sometimes you in your mind, you're like, okay, so if I only get bled for X, then I can go forward, or I have a better chance, and you might miss out certain things. And it's I think it's happened to all of us multiple times. And I think Steve makes a good point. From an outside perspective, some things are, I guess, clearer, and when you're there and under the
Yeah, because I had the luxury of just kind of sitting back and watching what was happening and keeping my mouth shut.
Was that hard though? Like having to sit there, but you were part of the game, but you can't say anything for like the last 45 minutes.
Definitely times when I wanted to just kind of say something, but nope, I am not allowed to say anything.
Yeah. So, any nuggets of wisdom or insights to the final overall? Maybe starting with Keith.
Well, funny story is the night before, I couldn't sleep. So, I had two choices of decks to play, actually. So, and it was suggested to me that I play the one that that required the least amount of brain power to use. That actually served me well throughout the whole day, because even though I made mistakes, the deck was solid, so it would still run itself. It just needed somebody to play it. And having built in a few options into the deck, I could have answers to some votes or bleeds or bounces or combat. So I just had to pick the right one for the right situation. So for, I guess, other people who are intending to try and get into competitions and win, pick something that you know very well and require very little brain power to use, so that if you make a mistake, it's not so bad.
No, I agree. That last point, play something that you're very familiar with. If you've played the deck a number of times, you make better choices, because you've probably been in a similar situation at some point. You just back the cards that are coming. You know what is coming. You know whether you have an answer or perhaps don't have an answer to a particular situation. So definitely helps to play something you've played a bunch before.
I had a similar experience this year. This year it was like the take it easy year, and I just wanted to play something I know inside and out, super familiar with. I had played that deck so many times, won lots with that deck, and a similar sort of thing, just going through the motions and knowing something inside and out. I think that's probably gives you the best chance to win a tournament, as opposed to like building something super new and shiny and running that. But so I think it's a pretty good tip in terms of having success, playing something you're familiar with.
Do you share the same sort of thought, Stephen, or is it something completely different for you?
Yeah, I certainly agree with what Keith said about, when you are, I guess, like, simple decks do have that advantage when you are, not feeling necessarily your best, which can certainly be the case at the end of several rounds of tournament. So if you've got something that's relatively simple to play, that can certainly help you out in that respect. And I am personally quite a big fan of simple decks.
Well, Giovanni Power Bleed sounded very simple.
Honestly, for me, that deck was relatively complicated.
That is true.
Yeah, don't forget the sports spikes, right? Is it sports spikes or no? The stunt cycles.
Stunt cycle.
Yeah.
Yeah. Basically, one of the problems or potential problems for that deck in combat is ranged combat. So, I just figure throw in a few of those. Can use that for prevent as well.
Yeah, I think it's good. Like that's a really good example of doing something to make your deck a little bit unexpected. Because I'm pretty sure the first time you played that stunt cycle, that the table got a surprise. I quite like your deck. It had a few little surprises. It was good.
Yeah, it's kind of still got its like toolboxy roots, so it can do a few different things depending on the circumstances.
But it can still bleed for 6, which is solid.
Yep.
It's like Dominate is good or something.
Yeah,
I know, right?
No, I think Party Out of Bounds needs a special mention here, because you and Simon was trying to pull off I think it was a KRC or something. We managed to use Party Out of Bounds to vote you down.
Yeah, not having LUTs was quite irritating. I had to pass votes by getting the edge and then burning the edge to get vote lock, which is not really how it's meant to work. And then because I mucked around for so long getting my vampires at all, Matt had bled me a bunch before I even got anyone, so it took me a while to build up enough to get the third minion. So yeah, but I mean, party out of bounds cancelled one of them. It was definitely annoying. And it was your deck, Keith, was quite flexible. You had a bit of intercept and a bit of reduce and a bit of this. Yeah, those new Anarch cards are quite flexible.
Pretty good. I've seen them used quite a bit recently, and yeah, definitely give some good options to Anarch decks.
So overall, how was the event for everyone?
I think we had a good crowd, like 28 people turned out. Some very young Methuselahs and some Methuselahs who had only just come back out of torpor. Some of us older antediluvians still running around.
I'm not that old. Speak for yourself.
Hey, some of us, not don't oust yourself. Okay.
It definitely had a different vibe to last year. So last year was all this excitement about finally being free after COVID. And this year felt quite a bit more settled. Everybody was still super happy to be there and really, really relaxed vibes. No aggro, but definitely much more settled compared to last year.
Yeah, no, it's good. 28 people was pretty good. I mean, Key and I played in Brisbane, and Stephen, I think, with, was it 11 one year or something a bit rough like that. So to have 28 was fantastic, and yeah, it was a good vibe. It was everyone. I had 3 good games on the second day. I had 4 great games on the first day. It was good. It was pretty cool environment.
What about you, Stephen?
Yeah, no, I definitely had fun. It was good to see everybody, including some people I don't necessarily see that often. Yeah, I haven't been playing much over the past few years, so it's kind of good to get back into things a bit.
And I think Keith mentioned this briefly as well, which is that I was actually quite happy to see that we had a fair number of new faces. I think I'm terrible with names, so apologies to whoever won the first table I was on. Because I can't remember names. Names are hard. But it was his first tournament ever, I think, and he only picked up the game in like the last few months before the actual event started. So yeah.
It's been a while since I actually met a new person at a tournament, and I think I met 3 new people. So there was Leo, his son, whose name's gone unfortunately, and then there was another guy that had come up for, what was that, Keith?
Harry,
yes, and I should remember
yes, that's right.
I remember.
Yeah,
I got to play with both of those, and then there was, I think it was Matt, another Matt that had come up from Melbourne.
Yeah.
That I played on. So it was nice to meet some new people. That was certainly cool, and of course old faces. Pretty funny that 4 of us that played the final when we were last in Brisbane were all back again. So that was just Tony missing out. So that it was nice. Good to see some new and old faces.
I think we talked about this the last year on the last year's roundtable as well, where it is an experience for new players who've never been in a multi-round tournament before to come in. It's a different mindset. You're not just looking at, hey, I executed my cute thingy that my deck does, so I'm just happy, or you're not just like, oh, okay, I got 1 VP, so the deck's done pretty well. At the end of the day, with a with a tournament, multi-round otherwise, game wins is a whole different ball game.
Yeah, no,
especially as the number of players go up, right? So as you get more and more players at the tournament, all of a sudden those game wins are even more important. you won't just make a final for game one and a few VPs. You, once the numbers start closer to 30, you need like a minimum 2 game wins, and obviously as the numbers go up, so does that threshold.
I think ultimately it's a happy problem where, you know, because we have more players, to get into the finals, you need to do better in the initial rounds, and you can't just, well, you can, but it's just harder to just squeak in. But definitely happy problems. I'd rather have more players, and you know, if we end up having like 50 or 60 players, fingers crossed, and I'll be happy even if I come in dead last. So I'll whine for a couple of days, but you know.
I do think it does make it harder to get onto the final table with a combat deck if you need 2 game wins. That's pretty good effort for Key to get on.
Especially one without redirects.
It does bleed for a lot, though.
Yeah.
So again, with 3 minions, it can, you know, comfortably bleed for, you know, 14 pull in a turn or something like that. It's
essentially a stealth bleed deck. Potent is stealth.
Yeah. No, well, it is.
Stealth?
So actually, it can be. So the Inko, the Black Lion, got built-in +1 stealth, and she can bleed for 5. And there's the Monastery of Shadows, which another one can bleed for 5 at 1 stealth. So there is that angle.
I think we've picked a lot of your brains in this roundtable. Once again, thank you very much for joining us today. It's a bit unfortunate that we weren't able to get Matthew on to have his thoughts. And congratulations everyone for getting onto the final table, and big congratulations one more time to Keith for winning the Continental and getting his name engraved in the Challenge Cup.
Yeah, well done, Keith.
Yeah.
Yep. Good on ya.
Until next time, see ya.
See ya.
Thanks.
See ya.
Thanks, everyone.